Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our virtual group on goal setting. We're very glad you're here. My name is Susanna, and I am the Behaviorist Program Coordinator. Let's see, we have Dana and Jennifer and Kathleen. Can you all hear me? Type something in, please, if you can hear me. Yay! Thank you, Jennifer. Okay, so I'm assuming that Dana and Kathleen can hear as well. So today's topic is goal setting. We're going to talk about setting what we call SMART goals, and the word SMART is an acronym, but it also, of course, just kind of in a cutesy way tells us how to create SMART goals for ourselves. So you see my little prep instruction here that says while we're getting set up for group, be thinking of a goal that you've achieved or one that you're working toward in your Weight Management Center program. And I asked you all to go ahead and write it down while we're getting started. So is there anybody who's brand new to virtual group today? Yes or no, you can feel free to type in the word no if you'd like. Great, thanks. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and talk about what setting SMART goals means. So does everybody have a goal written down? It can be on a large piece of paper, it can be on a scrap sheet, but it's very important to write down your goal. So if you don't already have a goal written down, take the next, we're going to give it 30 seconds. So think of a goal that you have accomplished before, or a goal that you're working toward in your Weight Management Center program. Write it down. We've got 15 seconds left. Write down your goal, and we will work with these using our SMART goal format as we proceed. About 5 seconds left. Okay. So, SMART goal setting is a format of setting goals that brings structure and trackability, for lack of a better word, but measurability to goals and to objectives. So if anybody's heard the phrase, begin with the end in mind, or something like, if you don't know where you're going, you won't ever get there. Has anybody heard those phrases? You can just feel free to type to let me know. Yes, Lizette, thank you. What do you think that means? Begin with the end in mind, or if you don't know where you're going, you're likely not to get there. So Pam is giving us an answer. You need a plan, she says. Absolutely. Yeah. So any ideas about what the elements of a plan should include? Just off the top of your head. It doesn't have, there's no right or wrong answer. Just y'all brainstorm. What are the elements of a plan that one might create if you're working toward the goal that you've written down? Jennifer, okay, the when and the how to achieve the goal. Okay, great. And Bridget's typing. So what do you think might be time frame? Yes, time frame for the goal. Yeah, good thinking. What do you think might be the benefit to creating a plan, with some of the elements that we're brainstorming? What might be the benefits of having a plan? If you know where you're going, it's easier to get there. Absolutely. And the benefit might be that you are more likely to succeed. So definitely. And so let's break those things down. If you know where you're going, it's more likely that you're going to get there. It's easier to get there because you have a plan, you have a path, have a time frame, as y'all have mentioned. The other thing is that when you have a plan and a path, a time frame, you are more likely to succeed, as Bridget suggests, because you have some amount of control over how you're going to proceed. Okay, if you don't have a plan, as our slide suggests, if you don't have a plan and you don't know where you're going, then life can become a series of chaotic happenings that feel beyond our control, and that render certainly a sense of being out of control, or certainly not in control of reaching your destination. So a plan, and I'm just reading down these comments, a plan that has a when and a how to achieve the goal, a time frame, so that's part of the when, a time to start, kind of a middle and kind of an ending point, and so that you know where you're going, you are more likely to succeed because you have some sense of mastery over it, some sense of your own investment in it. Okay, anything else before we go to the next slide? Bridget, I'll wait. If you were typing, I'm certainly... okay. Also being realistic. Yeah, being realistic about your goal. So, yeah, I think we're ready to move on because we're going to talk about the SMART elements of goal setting. Okay, goal setting that is done in a SMART way is SMART. Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time-bound. Okay? So the SMART, S-M-A-R-T, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound, includes or assumes all of the things that we were just brainstorming about. It includes and assumes a when and the how. It assumes a plan. It assumes a time frame. And it will render making things easier to achieve. It will render being more likely to achieve the goal successfully. Okay. Is there anybody who has joined us who has not written down a goal that you're working toward, or a goal that you have reached already? Anybody that's joined us in the last few minutes? Okay. If you haven't, and you're not raising your hand or commenting, if you haven't written down on a piece of paper right in front of you a goal you're working on, then go ahead and do that over the next few minutes. Write down a goal that you're working toward, and we're going to work with those here in a bit. Okay? So, SMART goals. So, let's take the first element of that, specificity. Make your goal specific and write it down. Fair? So, when you write it down, you want to think about who is involved, what the goal is, what is the aim, when it's going to happen, where will it take place, and why. What's the rationale behind the goal that you are working toward? Any questions about this one? The specificity, being specific. let's move on. So, S is for specific, M is for measurable. We want to determine the tangible, or at least the measurable, the tangible, something you can touch and feel. Numbers, I guess, would be tangible if you write them on a piece of paper. The tangible measures for your goal. What will you see, hear, feel when you achieved your goal? Without measures, some sort of accountability, we all hear that word all the time around here as accountability. But truly, without accountability, without measurability, how will you know when you have achieved your goal, when you've reached your goal? All right, so specific, measurable, and attainable. So SMA is attainable. Your goal must be possible for you to achieve. It's got to be something attainable. Setting unattainable goals is just gonna, it's futile, and it's gonna create frustration. Does anybody have an example of a goal that you might have set for yourself at any time, not just during your weight loss journey, but at any time that might have been unattainable, and then you realized later, I really should have narrowed my scope? Can anybody give us an example of that? Bridget, I saw you were typing. Are you still working on it? Okay, nobody's thinking of an example? What about if you are a child who, this is an example of creating a goal that's attainable. What about a child who has a science project and in 5th grade, and they decide, they set a goal that they're gonna build a nuclear reactor? Is that an attainable goal for a 5th grader? Let's hope not, right? So, thank you, Pam. Let's hope not. So, the child has to narrow down the scope. Maybe they just build something out of, okay, I have 2 boys and a girl, two sons and a daughter, and some of the science projects that have been done in my house have been for a physics project. This was a high school one, but my son, instead of creating a racetrack to show some physics thing out in the driveway with large equipment, he narrowed his scope and he did a much smaller racetrack to show the compelling forces of physics. So I opened his bedroom door, and all this stuff from his childhood, these like Matchbox car loops and turns and everything, were filling his room, which was attainable. Okay? So can anybody give an example of a weight loss goal that is attainable? Losing 5 pounds, Bridget says. Losing 5 pounds. Okay. Yes. Smaller clothing size. Okay. Anybody else? Able to wear my wedding band again. Yeah. Yeah, so those are examples of, one of them is a scale-related goal. One of them is a tangible goal because you can see it. You can experience it by putting on a sweater that maybe didn't used to fit and now it does. Able to wear a wedding band again. Right, because the ring size is now more appropriate because, because you've lost some weight. So what about the specificity of Bridget's answer? It's very specific, right? It's 5 pounds. It has a number to it. Okay. What about the smaller clothing size? Does that have specificity? Yeah. So if we're going to go for a goal like smaller clothing size, and we are going to use the SMART format, then we want to have a, yeah, Pam, you can make it have a number. So instead of a size 18, the goal could be, so I want to wear, if you're a size 18 or 20 or whatever, and you want to wear a smaller size, then put a number on it. Be specific. So I want to go from a 20 to an 18, or 18 to a 16. Okay? Kristen, okay, no, set this, right. So when you say set the size, you mean put a number on it? Like put a size number on it? Okay, so using our measurable, SMART, so specific, measurable, the measurable is the number that you actually assign to it, okay? What about the attainable part? What if somebody who is a size 18 says, I want to wear a smaller clothing size. I want to be in a size 8. What do you think? Bridget says it may be attainable, but not for a while. Okay? So it has to have a time frame, right? So maybe the goal about wearing a smaller clothing size has to be specific with a measurable focus. So instead of 20, it's 18. And it has attainable, from 20 to 18 is attainable, and then you have to give it a time frame. So maybe 20 to 18 in 6 months, but 20 to 12 in 6 months may not be attainable. So it may not fit the attainable part of our SMART format. Yes. Make shorter goals in between. Yeah. See, SMART goals. Y'all are just smart. Okay. So the next question you want to ask yourself. So we kind of have that concept down. So setting unattainable goals is futile. It creates frustration. It really buys into the all or nothing thinking. You know what I mean by, do y'all know what I mean by all or nothing thinking? Yeah? Yeah, so what's an example of how all or nothing thinking would play into this? I've set a goal to get from a size 16 to a size 6 in 6 months. And after the first month, it's not happening. How might the all or nothing thinking play in? Yeah. Jennifer says you give up because it's not happening when you expect it to, because it's not attainable. And you are not in control of the time frame. That's too big, too complex of a goal to squeeze into that very small time frame. So, and then you have to ask yourself, am I in control of the factors that feed into this? All right, let's go to the next slide. Anybody have anything to say before we leave here? Yeah, so all or nothing thinking is otherwise known as the throw the baby out with the bathwater way of thinking. Do y'all know what I mean? Because you're gonna y'all know, okay, good. Jennifer says, yes, we know what you mean. Spare us the explanation. All right, so we don't want to be throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Don't want to chuck it all and the baby. All right, so SMART, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant. Okay, relevant and realistic. So goals should be realistic. They should be relevant to the journey you're on. They should be challenging and give you room for stretching yourself. They should be motivating, but not so big and complex that you lose the motivation. Throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Okay, so a goal must be realistic and relevant. Okay, here's where we get to the nitty-gritty. Your goal must have a timeline. So my recommendation is to start with the end in mind, right? But you got to start. So it needs to have a beginning point. It needs to have some structure to it. A beginning, a process in the middle, and then a deadline or an ending time. Okay? And the deadline, the ending time, the process in the middle, the starting time needs to be realistic and relevant to what you're working on. Okay? So timelines for your goal, for your plan, and all the elements that go into that plan, timelines, including a deadline at the end, can generate motivation. It can generate a sense of urgency. It can generate the ability to really narrow the focus and really hone in on what you need to get to where you're going. Okay. Any comments on this part, the timing? Okay. All right. So we have arrived at our last slide, and then we're going to start working on some of y'all's goals. Okay. So ready, set, goal. Goals that are SMART, are specific, and here's our little color wheel down here: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. And then our quote here: a dream becomes a goal when action is taken toward achieving it. Okay, so everybody wrote down a goal that they're currently working on. Would anybody be willing to share your goal and let us work with it and sort of put it through the SMART format? Would y'all be willing to do that? If you are, go ahead and write the word goal, or type the word goal, and then write out what the goal is, and we'll work with it. And we've got plenty of time, so we can do everybody's if y'all are willing. Okay, so Pam says her goal is to, thank you Pam for being the first to join in. So Pam says she wants to lose 1 pant size by July 4th of this year. So is that specific? Everybody chime in. Okay, so it's specific. Is it measurable? Yes. Yes, yes. Is it attainable? Yeah? Okay, let's pause there. It is June 20th. I don't have a calendar in front of me. Somebody tell me how many weeks that is. Let's see, 30th, that's 2 weeks from today. Okay, Pam. Oh, interesting. So Pam, this is your goal, and Pam said 3 weeks from today. Let's see, is it? It's okay. So yeah, it sounds more like 2. So is July 4th attainable? A pant size? What do you think? I mean, it may be, but I don't know Pam's body. I don't know her, kind of what the plan is. It can be, Lisette says, okay? It may be, okay? Pam, what do you think? This is your goal. What do you think? Yeah, it. Okay. I think if I exercise 2 times a day and stick to my food plan, I can do it. Okay. Let's pause on the A part. Okay, let's go through the rest of the SMART thing. We've been specific. We've been measurable with Pam's goal. We are pausing on the attainable part. The relevant, is it relevant? Is a goal of losing a pant or going down a pant size, is that relevant? I would say yeah, it's relevant. And time bound, we've already sort of covered that, starting now to the 4th of July. So yeah, everybody agrees that it is relevant. So we've gone through the SMART goal format, and it meets everything. I'm wondering about it meets everything, except I'm wondering about the attainable part in the time frame. Oh, Bridget, okay, so Pam may already be really close to going down a size, and sometimes it'll just take a pound or two, right, to make that change. Okay, yeah, absolutely. What I'm gonna do, just because I've got kind of a little bell going off in my head, exercising 2 times a day may actually be too much. So I would say I'm going to recommend sticking with your food plan, absolutely. If the dietitians have given you a plan that is working for you, then absolutely. I'm going to say go back to the exercise team and run this by them, because a lot of times less is more. So, and it makes your brain kind of do a little twist. It's counterintuitive, but sometimes exercising more can be detrimental to weight loss, because what you're doing by exercising is generating hunger in your body, which means your body, if it's not being fueled enough to sustain that level of exercise, then the body actually holds on to weight. Okay, so my recommendation is, as far as the SMART, my recommendation is to check in with the exercise team, Pam, okay, and see if the 2 times a day exercising is actually benefiting you and will actually help you attain the goal that you've set for yourself, okay? Because that's the only question that I have about that goal. Otherwise, it meets all of the SMART format, and as everybody else has agreed, it depends on kind of where you are in the plan. It depends on what your body's doing. It depends on what your recommendations from the team have been, etc. Very nicely done, everybody. Very nicely done. Pam is typing a comment, and then after we work with that, we're gonna ask for another volunteer. Okay, so Pam says her next appointment is Thursday, and she's going to run this by them. That's an excellent idea. That's a great idea, and see what they say. And if they say, yeah, that's workable for you and for where your body is at this point, then fine. If not, they'll know a whole lot more about you than I do right here, and they'll be able to help you sort of tweak that little piece of your goal, and then you can keep moving forward. Great. Okay, so who else would like to share a goal? And we can run it through this format. Just type away. You don't have to wait for me. Okay, a goal of losing 30 pounds by September 23rd. Okay, that's, okay, let's run it through the format. Is that goal, Lizette has given us her goal is to lose 30 pounds by September 23rd. All right, is it a SMART goal? Question mark. Is it specific? Yeah. Yes, it is quite specific. 30 pounds by September 23rd. Do you have a time of day on that? I'm kidding. I'm just being silly. Okay, so is it measurable? Yes. It is specific, quite specific. It is measurable. The 30 pounds by a certain date, quite measurable. Okay. Is it attainable? 30 pounds by September 23rd. So today's June 20th. That's July, August, September. So that's 30 pounds in roughly 3 months. Okay. Possibly it's attainable. It depends, right? It depends on a lot of things. If she loses 3.4 pounds per week on average, somebody's got a calculator. Yes, it will take serious dedication. So 3.4 pounds per week. Bridget, do you have a calculator, truly? Or are you just, okay, I was going to say, are you just like the math whiz? You got my math sense. Okay, good. So 3.4 pounds per week is significant. It's more than our program generally tells people they can expect. Okay, 1 to 2 pounds, 1 to 2.5 pounds per week, depending on your program. Now, Dana is right. It depends on which program. Yeah, 30 pounds in 3 months, it is a lot. So Optifast, okay, Optifast is what you're doing. Yeah, and that it could be. All right, so specific, measurable, attainable, and we'll pause on the attainable part, and we'll come back to it if we need to. Relevant. Oh, we've got some comments. Optifast is what I'm doing, and it will depend on when you transition during that time. Yeah. Very good point. Because keep in mind, weight loss goals, the weight loss goals that we're talking about are goal planning that is superimposed on top of a plan that you're already doing. Okay? You're doing, I see your comment, Dana. We'll get to that in just a sec. You're already doing a plan that is prescribed, either Optifast or Essentials, and it has certain, your plan for everybody has certain constants, right? The number of calories you're supposed to take in, or for the time being, the number of meal replacements you're supposed to be doing. And to Bridget's point, the weight loss goal depends on when you transition. At what point you transition into adding a snack in, or adding a meal in, or adding a second snack in. That the time frame is not as dependent on your goal setting as it is necessarily on the Optifast plan that is prescribed for you. So we have to kind of consider those factors. Okay, so Dana's point, water intake, exercise, commitment, timing of meal episodes, and consistent days. I'm thinking what you mean, Dana, is that timing of meal episodes and consistency. It sounds kind of like the same thing to me. I'm going to, if we were to put the most important things in order in terms of active weight loss, timing of meal episodes, and what you are fueling your body with. So the calories and the macronutrients and the timing is the most important thing. And in terms of active weight loss, exercise actually is a little less important in active weight loss. Okay, please hear me. I'm not talking about maintenance. Exercise is very important in maintenance. But exercise is less important during active weight loss than the timing of the meal episodes and the actual fuel that is part of the macronutrients, okay, the calories and the macros, okay. So yeah, Dana says consistency is not deviating from the schedule. Yeah, from weekdays to weekends, definitely. Yeah, consistency, keeping 24/7 kind of thing. Yeah. Okay. So Lizette's goal is specific, measurable, attainable. We're still pausing on that because we don't know all the factors. And relevant. Is it relevant to her journey? Yeah, absolutely. And is it time bound? The goal that she has offered, yeah, it has a beginning. She's already gotten started, and it has an end time. Okay, so is it a SMART goal? SMART. Everything but the A, attainable, and that is going to depend on lots of factors that may or may not be things that Lizette can truly control. Lots of people are typing, so I'm going to give us a few seconds to catch up. Congratulations! Your third week on it, on Optifast, and you've lost 15 pounds so far. Fantastic. Okay. Yeah. So Lizette says she's already lost 15 and she wants to lose a total of 30 by September 23rd. That, in my opinion, changes everything. Yeah, absolutely. Is that attainable, 15 pounds by September 23rd? Absolutely. For all the reasons that people have chimed in and said. Congratulations. That's really great. Okay, so SMART goal number 2. Does anybody else want to offer one for us to take a look at? You're welcome. Congratulations. What about, Bridget, you're typing a goal. While Bridget is typing, think about goals that are not necessarily scale related. Okay? Does anybody have a goal that's not scale related? Lots of chatter going on. I love it. Okay. So Bridget, her goal is to, thanks so much y'all for participating. This is really great. Your goal is to increase your strength training from 1 day per week to 2 by the end of July and be consistent with that. Okay. And you set up your personal training sessions to be sure you get there. And another of Lizette's goals is to be more active in general during your program. or just in your life. Okay, let's see what Kristen says, and then the never-ending goal of clean up my basement sewing room. Yes, we have talked about it. And yes, in order to make, Kristen, in order to make that goal attainable or achievable, it has to be more specific. My suggestion, just off the cuff, is to break it down into smaller chunks, right? And be very specific in it. Okay, let's go back to Bridget's goal. Let's run her goal through the SMART format. Okay, Bridget's goal is to increase her strength training from 1 day per week to 2 days per week specifically. And she has set up personal training sessions already to work in an effort to work toward that goal. All right, is the goal specific? Yeah. Is it measurable? Yeah, I agree. It is measurable. Is it attainable? Yeah, absolutely. Is it relevant to the overall plan? And is it realistic? Yeah, it is specific. Move the meter from 1 day of strength training per week to 2 days of strength training per week. Is it measurable? Yes. Move from 1 to 2 by the end of July. Great. Is it attainable? Yeah. Is it relevant? Is it realistic? Yeah. Is it time bound? Yes. Okay. Another SMART goal set. Very good. And that's a great example of a non-scale goal. Excuse me, that is a SMART goal. So what about the more sort of loosely defined, yeah, I want to be more active in general, or I want to feel better, I want to be healthy. Are those SMART goals? I mean, I've said those goals myself. Yeah, I've got a goal to be healthier. Yeah, correct. Those are not SMART goals. They're not SMART. So they're not specific. Right, Lisette. It's not specific. None of those are measurable. What does it mean? Be healthy. How can you measure that if that's all you offer? I want to be healthy. Okay. All right. Fine. But is it specific? Can you measure it? Is it attainable? Well, I don't know. How are you going to know when you get there? What does healthy mean to you? Where are you now versus where you want to go when you know you're healthy? Is it time bound? Well, apparently not, because all it said was, I want to be healthy. Okay, Kristen's typing, so we'll wait to see what she has to say. Oh, okay. So when Kristen set the goal of being healthy, the broad theme of general health, she got more specific, and she said she wanted to use blood pressure numbers and BMI, body mass index, to indicate as indicators of general health. Okay, so if we use Kristen's version of the same goal to be healthy, her goal is more specific, right? Because it narrows down healthy to let's get the blood pressure down, to let's be more specific. I want to get the blood pressure numbers down within the normal range. Fair? So that would be part of the specificity. And then BMI, yeah, okay. So the BMI, you get your BMI numbers down from whatever they are to a certain level. So you make it measurable by that interval, okay? Yeah. So specific, correct. Measurable, attainable. Now, the attainability, funny, this is where we've gotten kind of, we paused at attainable every time, right? I think that's supposed to tell, Yes, it is tricky. I think that tells us something about the attainability, about setting goals that are attainable. So what if Kristen said, I want my blood pressure to be 110/60 all the time. That's when I know I'll be healthy. Is that attainable? Probably not. Probably not. And it is also dependent upon a lot of factors that may truly be outside of Kristen's control. Maybe she's got heredity, like a DNA kind of factor, like just high blood pressure is something that runs in her family. She can't control that. So she may need some medication to help control it. And if she's not taking the you see what I mean? So DNA may be a factor that's not in her control. Medication might be a factor that's not in her control until she gets a prescription for it, and then it's in her control. She can take it. Okay, so you see how factors start playing in at the attainability level. Okay, and then let's say somebody has, if we're going to look at BMI, somebody has a BMI of say 40. And their goal is to get to a BMI of 23 in 6 months. To me, that does not sound attainable. So, yeah, y'all are agreeing. So my recommendation for that person is to pause at the attainable piece and solicit professional expertise. Talk to the experts. And help them get their help and their input. Dr. R, our medical providers, MJ and everybody, Tarika, get their input as to what is attainable for you specifically. So what are some other measures of I want to be healthy? Thanks, Kristen. Blood pressure, BMI, what are some other measures? What about hemoglobin A1C? What if somebody is borderline diabetic? Or say you have type 2 diabetes, or even type 1 diabetes. So getting the A1C numbers into an acceptable range for your body, that might be a health goal. What about cholesterol? Cholesterol number, any of the lab work can be the fatty liver, cholesterol numbers, A1C, any of that stuff can be indicative of health. So that's the measurability. The specificity could be any of those things. Measurability means it's the numbers associated with those things, and you want to give yourself an acceptable range. The attainability, you can seek input from your providers as to the attainability of health goals. Relevance, as long as something is specific, a health goal is going to be relevant to your weight loss journey. And then time bound. What about the timing of blood pressure numbers, BMI, A1C numbers? What about the time? Can you determine that like just right on your own? Yeah, probably not, unless you're a medical provider, which I'm certainly not. So I think that's another one, the timing of a health-related goal would be dependent upon the expertise of your medical providers. So, okay. I think we have time for one more. Does anybody else have a non-scale related goal? Okay. So Kristen says a non-scale related goal is to journal. Food journaling, Kristen? Yeah, okay. So food journaling 4 days a week. Okay. So let's run it through the format. Specific. Yes. Is it measurable? Yeah. Is it attainable? Right. So the attainable part. So Christian says in her world, 4 days is attainable, but 7 is not. So she very wisely, in this attainability piece, the SMA, she very wisely backed it down to a number, to a goal that, a number that is attainable for her. If 7 is not attainable, then, you know, why frustrate yourself by setting a goal that's too big, too complex to meet? So, like you all have said, break it down into smaller pieces and work on one piece at a time. So she will know that she has achieved that goal when she has journaled 4 days a week. How many weeks in a row, Kristen? Do you want to say, what's the timeline on this? We certainly agree that it's relevant. So what's the time-bound part? Okay, so 3 weeks. So do you mean the goal is you want to journal, food log, 4 days in a row every week for 3 weeks? Probably so. Stephen Covey probably said, I'm reading his book, 7 Habits of Effective People, Highly Effective People right now. Okay, so what you mean is, yes, it is a great book. So what Kristen means is you want to journal, food log, 4 days a week, every week for 3 weeks, correct? Correct, okay. And so for the rest of y'all, the reason I asked that very specific question is some people might mean, okay, yeah. So some people, I'll get right to you, Kristen. The reason I broke that down with such specificity is that some people might say within 3 weeks, meaning by the end of 3 weeks' time, I want to be journaling 4 days a week. Do you see what I mean? Do y'all see where I'm going with that? So for one person to say, in 3 weeks, I want to be journaling 4 days a week, 4 days a week, that person's time frame might be different. Kristen means I want to start now and journal 4 days a week, this week, next week, and the next week. Another person's time frame might mean I want to be, by the end of 3 weeks, I want to be doing this 4 days a week. Do y'all see what I'm getting at? Yeah, okay. That's the time-bound piece of it. That's the beginning, middle, and end thing that we were talking about. Okay, hey, y'all. Last call for comments. I just looked down at the clock, and it's like 3 minutes to 1. Great discussion today. Yes, me too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop. Yes, you're welcome. I'm going to stop the meeting and hang on, because what you guys need to do is fill out the survey, the link that's going to come up. Oh, that's all right, Kristen. So I'm closing the meeting, and click the link, go to the survey and fill it out, and that's how you get your credit, your PERCA point, okay, for being here. All right? So you all have a great rest of the day, and so long, and thanks so much for engaging, and we'll see you soon.